Welcome. Today I am lucky enough to get to review the latest Heaven Hill Heritage Collection from 2024, and we're also going to talk about how you can get yourself a free sample. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Bourbon Retriever. Today we are talking about one of my most anticipated bottles from 2024. I actually made a video listing the bottles for the first half of 2024 that are coming out that I was hunting for most, and this was at the top of the list. I'll put a link up here at the top if you want to check it out. But before we get into the bottle, probably the reason a lot of you clicked into this video is you're trying to figure out how to get yourself a sample of the Heaven Hill 18. Well, tomorrow on Friday, I'm doing a live stream where I'll be giving away a 1 ounce free sample of this, including a 1 ounce sample of the latest Elijah Craig C923, actually it was my favorite bottle from 2023, and also doing an Elijah Craig 18-year single barrel. I think it'll be cool to see how this compares to this because they're both 18 years old. And I also think this bottle will be a good comparison just because of how highly it was lauded. And it also includes barrels that are much older than a traditional Elijah Craig barrel proof. So if you want to try to be able to win this sample pack, again, my live stream is tomorrow, April 19th. I'll be going on at 8 p.m. It's a free giveaway. All you do is once you get in, there'll be a keyword that you'll introduce into the chat. And at the end of the live stream, I'll pick a random winner. Getting back to the bottle itself, this release comes out every spring. This is Heaven Hill's competitor to Buffalo Trace's B-Tax, but this year's version is coming in at 120 proof. It's an 18-year-old aged product. The two prior releases, one was 100 corn whiskey, which wasn't too well received in the community, but the one before that was a 17-year Heaven Hill, very similar to this one that was super extremely well received. So I have high hopes for this bottle that it'll match that Heaven Hill 17. I was lucky enough to get this bottle in one of the Virginia drops. They did a random drop, I think a couple weeks ago. I showed up, got in line, and I started looking at all the bottles that I was going to get. And the first bottle I was actually going to get was the Jack Daniel's 12, the latest release, batch 2. But when I got to the front of the line and was checking out, this bottle was actually kind of hiding in the corner. And I was actually the first one to get it. So I was super lucky to catch the eye at the last second. These drops, they don't really necessarily have a list all the time. You kind of just have to scour the counter and quickly make a decision because there's also a lineup, 20 people behind you, so you don't want to take too much time at the front. It can be a little bit of anxiety when you get to the front. I have seen countless people get to the front, freak out a little bit because they don't know what's actually up there, and they make a rash decision only later to get home to have a little bit of second thoughts and regrets. Lucky enough that hasn't happened to me yet, but I'm sure eventually one of these times it'll get me. I guess we should also talk about the box itself. This is one of the better box designs. Personally, I think. I love how it has this unique open from the middle concept. It creates just a very nice presentation. So MSRP on this bottle is $300. That is very steep for any whiskey. I had a hard time swallowing that, but given I am such a big Heaven Hill fan, it's probably my favorite distillery. It was a bottle that I had to get when I had the chance. So now in secondary, these bottles are going for $1,000. I haven't opened this or tried it yet, but I can pretty safely say that there's no way this bottle is worth $1,000, but let's open it up and see how it tastes. I will say I think the 2017 box was better. The lettering on it was a little slimmer, and I just like the style a bit more. But both boxes had this kind of open system. It's just the actual lettering they used on it. I think the 17 was a little cleaner. Okay, I'm having a little bit of difficulty here. There is a seam here, but I cannot for the life of me find where it starts. I'm assuming it's underneath the tax label here, so I think I'm gonna have to break the tax stamp to try and find this seam. I had to get a knife to help me out here a little bit. Yep, and like I thought, it is right here behind the tax stamp. I don't know if that's on purpose or what, but it probably made it a little more difficult than it should have been. That's a pretty generic cork. Nothing really special about this. Thought it might have been a little nicer, given it is probably their top of the line release. All right, cheers. Hey, the first thing that I'm noticing is the lack of oak. I thought for an 18-year-old product, this would probably be one of the oakier Elijah Craig products that I've had, but I am not getting that. There is some oak there. It's very subtle and sweet, but this is actually very fruit forward, which I would not expect from Elijah Craig. I'm still trying to pick out what fruit I'm thinking of, but it's definitely also getting this nice toasted pecan note. Not the notes you would get from like a Booker's or Jim Beam product, but it's more of like you took like a pecan, put in the oven, roasted it a little bit, maybe put a little bit of caramel drizzle on it, and that is exactly what I'm getting. I think the fruit I'm gonna fall on here is either a plum or a cherry, but it would have to be, like I'm trying to think of what type of cherry. Like it's not a bright cherry, like maybe almost like a dried out cherry or one that is a super ripe. Yeah, maybe like a cherry jam or something like that. Yeah, I really just can't get over how the lack of oak there is. I don't know if that's what Heaven Hill was trying to do when they did this blend, because I imagine trying to find 18-year-old barrels that don't have oak on them has to be almost impossible. Or if you're trying to blend out the oak, that also has to be extremely difficult. So I don't know if that's what they were trying to go with this release, just showing something a little more off profile for the age. But if that's what they're doing, they nailed it on the head here. But yeah, if I had to guess just on the nose, I would guess a much younger product, like maybe 10 years old or 12, just because of the lack of the oak there. But not having that oak lets the other flavors come forward a little more, and you're getting a lot more of that fruit and pecan notes that I just don't normally get on Elijah Craig. All right, on to the palate. Okay, one of my first impressions on the palate is the proof point. This is coming in at 120, but I, again, would not guess that. To me, this is coming in closer to maybe that 107 proof area, which I think is personally the sweet spot for whiskey. So for this, drinking under its proof is another sign of a good quality bourbon. As I'm drinking this Heaven Hill 18, this is a good plug here for some merch. I'm drinking out of my personalized Glencairn glass. I don't know if you guys can see it in the camera, but I got the Bourbon Retriever logo on it. I just got these made a couple weeks ago, and I am ecstatic with how they turned out. I launched a website which have these on them right now. They're going for $15. If you buy a pack of 6, there's a little bit of a discount on it, so go check it out. If this is something you're interested in, they're up for sale. Depending how this does, I'll think about exploring into other types of merchandising, maybe shirts, hats, other types of Glens. Let me know if there's a certain type of merch you're looking for that you're super interested in. Giving the cost restraints to buying the merch inventory ahead of time, it can be expensive going into plenty of other different SKUs. So extremely interested in what you guys are most excited for. Yeah, I still can't get over how fruit forward this bottle is. Not getting a lot of spice or oak on it, but the fruit notes are the most prominent notes on the palate. Probably where I notice the oak the most is actually on the finish. I'm there in that I'm getting a little maybe of the chocolate you'd get from an older age dated product, but I'm not getting it on the front or the noses where I typically would get the aged notes. It's only showing up in the finish, which it has actually a pretty decent finish. And there is a nice evolution from those fruit notes you get at the beginning into the finish where you get a little bit of spice, not a lot going on, and then the oak is the most predominant note on the finish that just lingers. Yeah, that is pretty good. So here's the issue. This bottle is a $300 bottle. Is this worth $300 to me? I think if you gave this to me blind, I would not guess a $300 bottle. Because traditionally when I drink something blind, an oak note is one of the most telltale signs of a bottle that's going to be more expensive or not. And the fruit notes I'm getting on this would lead me to guess a younger bottle. And while there are several things going on in this drink, it doesn't reach the complexity level that I would expect from a $300 bottle. When I'm paying $300 for a bottle, I want this thing to knock my socks off. There to be like one super predominant note that I just fall in love with. And maybe it's just I'm not a big fruit fan. This is, to me, an off-profile Elijah Craig. So if you're looking for something that's super fruit forward, this would be the bottle for you. But if you just love those oak notes that you traditionally get from older Elijah Craigs with the dark, rich caramel, I don't think this is a bottle that you should necessarily chase for. Now, I'm super happy to have it because it is my first Heaven Hill Heritage Collection. If I could go back and buy it again, would I? I probably would, just because of the name of it, just to have on my shelf. But do I think the juice inside is worth $300? I would probably say not. But I'm gonna do a quick comparison of the Elijah Craig 18 versus the Heaven Hill 18. These are both 18 years old, the same mash bill. So these should be roughly the same. I know this is a blend of, I think, 133 some odd barrels, and this is a single barrel. So you might have more, I guess, variance with this. But I think it would be a good comparison to check this out. All right, cheers. Yeah, instantly the oak. The oak is right in your face. That's what most people say about the Elijah Craig single barrels, is there actually might be too oak forward. So that's what threw me off so much about this Heaven Hill 18, that there was actually no oak into it, because these are known for their oak presence. I'm getting that same kind of fruit jam behind it, but the oak note is definitely the most prominent note on the palate. All right, so this is a common fault that for the Elijah Craig 18s is the proof point. It is super low, and you can definitely tell the difference between the proof points on these. The other issue is these Elijah Craig single barrels are super drying. The oak becomes overpowering, and it just kind of knocks out all the other flavors, and then it knocks out, I don't know if it knocks out the taste buds, but your just mouth becomes super dry. It doesn't get many other flavors, and then the finish just kind of dies off, which you would expect from, I think, roughly a 90 proof whiskey. So on the nose, though, I actually think the Elijah Craig 18 is better than the Heaven Hill 18, which I know might be blasphemy, but right now I'm digging the nose on the 18 more. But when it comes to the palate, it's not even a fair fight. The Heaven Hill 18 is a much better drink, well-rounded, and the Heaven Hill 18, just with the proof point and the over-oaked tannin notes you get from it, it just doesn't even compete. Yeah, there's just absolutely no balance on the palate for the 18. It's just that one predominant oak note. It dies off and just super dries your mouth. Yeah, going back to the Heaven Hill 18 here, it's just a much more viscous, mouth-watering feel, and just coats your full mouth, which is what you want from these type of expensive bottles, and just a much more pleasant experience. Yeah, given the lack of notes and how fruit forward this is, the Heaven Hill 18 is crushable. Like, I feel like I could sit back and knock out a bunch of these, which isn't something you really want from an expensive bottle, because they could just disappear quickly. But I am digging it right now. Now it'll be interesting to see how the Heaven Hill 18 opens up over time. Historically, I've seen, especially these older age-stated products, after they get a little bit of air in them, maybe 2 inches down below the neckline, they change drastically. It gets a little more oak forward notes. Most channels I've seen have just done fresh crack reviews. I haven't seen anyone do a re-review yet, but I'll be going back to this bottle throughout the year, and it will be coming out at my end of the year blind, where I bring the best bottles from the year, put them head to head, and see what becomes king. And if this bottle opens up a little more and bring the oak notes forward a little bit, I think this bottle could be an absolute killer. That is just the one thing that's missing for me, is the oak notes, because I'm just personally a big oak fan. So that's my review of the Heaven Hill 18. If you're enjoying this content, consider subscribing to my Patreon channel. Buying bottles like this $300 bottle is very expensive, so any support you guys give me from the Patreon channel helps me make content like this going forward. Additionally, if you're enjoying this content, before you head out, check out this video or this one, and until next time, cheers.